flood damage that was done by the water being up so high for so long. And all four of us, these other four houses up here, they're all uphill. This is a hill that goes up here, so that water never made it up onto their properties. But the other four here all got damage to theirs. And all of these property owners went out of their way to cut down all their dead trees to try and clean up all the flood damage except the owner of this property. Nothing was done on any of that. And so that's where my wife and I, we pitched in and, cleaned up all the garbage and, really maintained that over the last 5 years. Now,
Dan.
oh, I'm sorry.
Your question.
I'm wondering, do your neighbors, are they aware of what you're planning on doing here? Do they need to be notified that you'd be wanting to make this purchase?
With the plan
Once their
commission,
properties?
Ben looked into that, Ben Cole, and there is no statutory requirement to notify these neighbors for the sale of this property. Now, these are public meetings, they are being broadcast, the agenda, it's on the agenda.
Have they been made aware of what your plans are? What you hope to do?
So have I personally talked to them about,
Has Vernon notified the people? No?
not that I'm aware of.
Would that be something we should do?
Well, I've lived there since 2017, I've been I've made an offer to purchase and tried to buy that property for the last 5 years.
You mean the property from Big Bend?
This property, yeah,
Yeah. You've been trying for 5 years? to
5
do
years.
that? First I heard of it was whenever you presented it last time to us.
All of these residents here, Victor has lived there for 18 years, and the rest of these tax records don't go back, but they've lived there at least 20, if not more. And to my knowledge, none of them have approached Big Ben or approached Brickman to buy that piece of property.
Yeah. I've been on planning for 6 years and I never heard that. First of all, I didn't even know that we owned that piece of property, to be honest. And secondly, I didn't know anybody was wanting to try to buy it, so.
Yeah, I've
My
talked.
apologies for us not acting sooner on this.
I've talked to my neighbors because they, when I started cleaning up this property, they weren't aware that I bought this, and I told them I was interested in buying that as well. But so they know that I'm interested, that I own those two properties, and I'm interested in the Big Bend property. And to my knowledge, none of them have expressed an interest in buying it. None of them have approached Big Ben to buy it. None of them approached Brickman to buy it. These are all public meetings they can watch on YouTube. According to the public meetings law, they can watch this and see that I'm interested in it. And also, this property is Big Ben. What are the duties and responsibilities of Big Ben to notify town of Vernon residents other than posting a public agenda and broadcasting it on YouTube? Do they need to get a letter in their mailbox saying that obviously they know that property's available. They've been living, it's been behind them for the last 25 years, and they've made no attempt to purchase it. So I don't know as far as notification. I couldn't find any state requirement, neither could the plan commission, that any further notification has to be made to the individual Vernon residents that property is going to be sold.
In our packet, it states that both, okay, I don't know what the other word. Review the request and decide if they desire to have other adjacent property owners be contacted by the Village of Big Bend staff to seek information if interested parties would like to also purchase the Village of Big Bend property directly north of their respective properties.
That was the note before we had the meeting. You're looking at the plan commission
Correct.
notes if you look at the date. If you actually look at the draft notes from the meeting itself, He does not say that. He says that there is no requirement that those neighbors be contacted and offered the sale of this property. I mean, they're not here. I mean,
Well, and we have no desire to be in their backyard. Like, we just want this because when we are in our yard, like that piece of property right behind our house, we'd like to put some trees there and make it look nice. And, you know, that's a lot to invest though in a property that's not yours. And I don't even know if we can legally plant trees on your land. I don't know how that works. We just want it to look nice in our area there.
This goes into my next picture here, is I'm only interested in the land that's adjacent to
Right.
my property lines. I don't care about behind these people's houses. So as I discussed at the Plan Commission, if one of these neighbors is interested in subdividing this after I buy it, I'm more than welcome to entertain that. Then they can, you know, go through these same motions that I'm going through. They can pay for a survey to get done and drop a line in here. And, you know, I'll make arrangements to sell it to them if they're interested in buying it from
I
me.
guess
But
at this point, we need to refer to Mike to see what your thoughts and comments are on this. I've seen this since the beginning, Mrs. Wilcox's efforts to buy the property. And I did have some concerns, one of which Trustee Cole brought up. While there might not be any legal requirement to refer an opportunity to purchase land, I think as a village, there is some sort of fairness that has to be exercised here. And I think that those property owners to the west should be offered the opportunity to purchase. Mr. Wilcox indicated something I hadn't heard until tonight, and that is his primary interest is in the part that has been crosshatched there, which is simply the extension of his east and west property lines to the north, to the freeway right of way. So number one, I think it's to be fair to everyone that it be offered to the others. If Mr. Wilcox is willing to purchase the parts that others won't have an interest in, okay, fine. That would be appropriate. But at this point, I don't even know if the neighbors have been approached. I don't know if they're aware of this. Again, to back up, there might not be a legal requirement to offer this to neighbors, but I think to be fair to those neighbors, it should be done. One other issue that concerned me a bit, that also Trustee Cole brought up, is Vernon. There is a water problem here. And I think in one of the presentations you indicated that you yourself have cleaned out the drain tiles that cross the freeway to the north. And
everything I've done has been on the south side, on my side.
yes, but all of that impacts to the north, the village of Vernon. And I think that the village of Vernon should be given an opportunity to determine whether they want to participate, potentially owning this property, in order to exercise some degree of control over whatever impact it might have on the properties on the north side of the freeway, including not limited to a 24-hour time period when the water dropped 3 feet. I don't know what happened to the properties on the north side when there was that rather significant change in the water levels. So, and if there is to be a sale, I know that the Wilcox have described doing things that are good, to clean it up, and the bird refuge is mentioned. But if it is sold, is there going to be any conditions that are attached to the sale? Is it to be maintained only as a bird refuge? Can it be further subdivided to sold to other people? I don't know if you could legally hunt there. I don't know if the firearms discharge rules might be, and there should be some agreement in advance that whoever's purchasing will be reimbursing the village for the costs of whatever staff time is spent trying to make this all work. So those are the concerns that I had, and which it's up to the board to do what they want to do, but those are the concerns that I had.
Isn't that Big Bend
I think
property to
mine-
the north?
Yeah, it's Big Bend property, yeah.
Yeah, so Vernon wouldn't.
Because that's basically where
No, it's
American States is going
No,
across.
Vernon wouldn't north.
Well, no,
To the north?
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, okay, yeah.
Because that was the Berkman property up there, yes. That he donated.
Yeah, I should add to it, maybe the Wilcox aren't aware of this, but I do suggest an appraisal, and I find in my packet tonight, I didn't notice until I sat down at 7 o'clock here, that Ben, the planner, did refer this to the assessor, who came back with a note that was the bottom one in your packet, saying he put a value of $7,152 on the entire triangle.
Yeah, I'm,
Now, whether that's right or wrong, but that's what the assessor says. So those are the concerns I had and have still.
well, I thought that was, why this went to the plan commission and why I signed a reimbursement agreement with Ben Colbert to do the due diligence and look into this. And he was satisfied at the plan commission and recommended that the property be sold as a single parcel to me. I mean, he's charging I have to reimburse him for $140 an hour for him to do his investigation, him to do his due diligence on the property. And according to his draft report here, they voted, and it was unanimous to sell that parcel as one piece to my wife and I, with the understanding that if the neighbors to the west have some desire in the future to purchase the lands behind them, that I will make arrangements, all of it. Like I said, I'm not interested in the property behind their houses. I mean, if you're using that logic, when I bought this property private sale, that's partially behind Rick's house here. I mean, I have frontage there, so I should have went and asked him first, hey, do you mind if I buy, if I have 80 feet of frontage behind your house? No, I just bought the piece of property and it wasn't an issue. And frankly, it's not an issue with my neighbors to the west. Like I said, they've all been there for, plus 20 years. Has anyone approached Big Bend since you've owned it in 2012 and said, hey, we're interested in buying that property behind our houses? Has any of them approached, that you're aware of, Rickman, when he owned it before 2012 to buy the property? I mean, I think you're addressing something that isn't even an issue. I mean, this has been on public record. I've spoken to my neighbors about the properties back there. These 4 neighbors are all aware and come down and talk to me about the wetland area that I have there. They come down and look at the birds, especially these 3 neighbors here. They've all been on my property. They've all walked down to the pond down there and looked at the waterfall. They're all aware that I have that property. None of them has said to me or anyone else that I'm aware of that they're interested in purchasing any property behind their house. So, this is, I don't mean to get frustrated, but I bought my home in 2017. I bought that second property in 2018 just so I could clean it up. I tried to buy this Big Bend property in 2018 so I could clean it up. And you wouldn't sell it to me. You wouldn't even, you guys wouldn't even return my phone calls after a while. I finally had to hire an attorney, and I hired the attorney to pursue buying the property, not to file a claim for compensation for refusing to maintain a property with all your trees falling in my yard, calling DPW every time. I mean, realistically, over the last 5 years, I've saved the village of Big Bend thousands of dollars having their DPW come out and clean up all the trash on that property and all the trees that have been falling onto my property, which I just took care of myself because I'm not a litigious guy. I just want to do the right thing. if you guys don't wanna maintain the property,
And I appreciate that. I want to ask a couple of questions back to Attorney Schover and to Mr. Goodman as well. First of all, do we have any record of all these requests that have come in through the years of property cleanup and attempting to try to buy the property?
I have no idea.
Okay, so we don't, do you, sir? Do you have any?
I got emails back and forth with Eric, and I had numerous conversations, with Warren, the previous president.
Okay.
And he said he was
And I just-
forwarding my quest to,
And the
Attorney
reason-
Schober.
The reason I ask that is I'm kind of trying to move towards something here, but it would be, I think it would help if you could produce any of that just for record so that we could see that there has been attempts in trying to clean the property and maintain things that is village property and showing the intent to want to take care of that property. My question for you, Attorney Schover, is that I'm reading through the recommendations from the Planning Commission. I was not at the Planning Commission. I did not watch the Planning Commission, and I'm just going by the notes that are here. But it looks like you're taking exception to a couple of things that the Planning Commission discussed and approved through from Mr. Cahoots. And
Well, ultimately, this board has the authority to make the final decision.
right.
They could agree completely, could disagree completely, or could agree in part, what the planning commission did. I'm saying, these are the concerns that I have that would cause things to be done, I think, before some final decision is made to sell the entire parcel to someone.
Because Ben
And
even states
if
that
the-
after the approval from the planning commission, he would recommend it, which I know it's approved. And what you want to do with it is great, because
Yeah.
havens are amazing for animals. But I think it would be in the best interest, like Attorney Schover said, to get it out to the public in that area, just in case someone says, yeah, I want to buy that sliver. So then we're not falling.
So then the property
being
has to
reprimanded
be,
later on because we never let them know.
then the property has to be subdivided, but it has to be reclassified. Right now it's residential, so it'd have to be reclassified as ag to make subdivisions that small. That's the problem. It's only 3.5 acres, so if one person wants the sliver behind their house, now you're subdividing, and that was what was addressed in the plan commission was, it's too small to subdivide into those small individual portions, and that's what they asked me, like, hey, if your neighbor is interested in getting that done, that's something that I can do, sell off a small amount of land. But my understanding was it wasn't something that,
That's, number one, it's wrong. Number one, it's wrong. These sales can be done without any other approvals.
Okay.
There's an exception in section 236.41, I think, of the statutes, that allows transfers between adjoining owners as long as it does not make any one of the parcels inconsistent with the zoning requirements, or if there's a building on it, that they no longer, it doesn't make the setback from the buildings inconsistent. So all of these transfers we've done, and even though you said that you could make a transfer to the owners of the westerly portion, the village can transfer all or part of this to any one of these owners completely legally. There's no subdivision requirement. The planning commission was wrong. If they said that, they were wrong with it. So we're back to where we were at, I guess, and that is that these parcels could be sold off as one parcel or to adjoining owners. That's one of the standards of the law. So, I mean, if you were interested in just purchasing that part of extending your lot lines to the north, if that's your interest, that gets rid of most of my concerns. Particularly those that deal with offering the property to adjoining neighbors. I'm also a bit concerned that you would be getting the lowland area, and the land to the west has a degree of high ground as shown on the screen now. That land is probably worth more than the lowland,
yeah.
and the opportunity to sell to neighbors to increase their lot size would present an opportunity where we make some profit on the sale of this parcel. Or the owner could make that But I think that that should be dealt with now.
Okay.
That we should have all of those owners made aware of it, and that we know of it, not that we're just guessing that they watched this on the minutes of this, or they read the minutes of this meeting, or watched this on television.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to subdivide it, all I'm interested in is what's adjacent to my property lines.
Okay.
This piece right there. And
Well, then my
like you
suggestion-
said, that piece is 100% designated wetland. So that piece is it. So this property that can actually be built on, someone can add this and they can build a shed back here or whatever. That's far more valuable than a designated wetland that, you know, what I'm interested in.
For simplicity purposes, would you be willing to provide the survey of that parcel you showed us crosshatched, and to pay, determining on the number of square feet in that compared to the number of square feet in the total 3.7 acres on a per square foot basis? I guess it would amount to probably about $3,500. Would you be willing to buy that?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's stop talking.
Does that piece of property have any value at all to the village?
Don't ask me, that's a plan commission.
In my
Engineering,
in my opinion, no, and Mr. Wilcox has actually probably performed greater than that amount of dollars in cleanup of our property through the years.
So if he would provide notification, or we provide to the neighbors that this is going for sale, and there's an opportunity for them to buy behind them, if they say no, then we can move forward. If they say yes, we can say, okay, you want to buy the section behind your house? Okay, then we have them make the survey and we appraise it and give them the opportunity.
And then it just starts getting so messy. I personally would like to see it sold off as one unit and do with it as you like, and I think what you're doing is great and should be done. I think the neighbors need to be notified. What about an offer from you and your wife to purchase the property, and then we notify Vernon to let the neighbors know if there's potential sale? And if anybody has a problem with it, or they're interested in getting involved, to step forward so we can move forward with this thing.
I have no problem with that
This is
either.
taking
I'd
too
like
long.
to see Mr. Wilcox purchase the whole thing, but I agree with Mike that we need to cover our tracks here and
It's not a legal issue. It's not a legal issue. It's a matter
It's just the right
of,
thing to do.
as a community, doing what is fair. You're offering one opportunity to one person, and you're not offering it to others, and you don't know for certain that even the others know that this potential transaction might occur.
how does this affect, okay, that's still our property. How does it affect Vernon, Big Bend? Because then you're basically owning two pieces of property in two different villages.
So I write a property tax check to Big Bend, and on my other properties, I write a property tax check to Vernon. I mean, I already write two different checks for the two different properties that I have there.
If
It's not-
if it's rezoned as agricultural, it's literally gonna be about a $10 tax a year, if that.
That would take a whole different process, the rezoning process, and it does not have to be done.
I would
It does not have
encourage
to be done.
you to rezone that.
On my adjacent property, 3.5 acres that I own right next to it, I paid $12 to Vernon. And I bought it, I got the deed, here's the check when I bought it. Last time I was here, I said I bought it for $3,000. That was my total bill, including my lawyer. I actually bought the property for $2,000, and the other legal fees that I had, because last time I was here, I said it was $3,000, but it was actually $2,000 for that 3.5 acres. Now, I know property's gone up in the last 6 years, so I don't think that's unreasonable. The valuation that was done for that 3.5 acre parcel, especially where the west end of it is not designated wetland. But
Okay,
So
how
So
do
we
we-
need an offer to
understanding-
purchase.
So my understanding, step one should be notification of those other properties.
Is that on us, Mike, or is that?
I think, from what Mike's saying, I think that should be us. We
Yeah,
notify
that's
them.
what even Ben says,
Yeah, we should notify them and ask for a response back from them in writing or email form.
Should be a time sensitive.
And it should be a time, absolutely, and once we have a response from them, then we can, if either we subdivide it or we don't and sell the entire property, move forward.
I would agree, as to the land that abuts these neighbors to the north of the lot. But if we're gonna offer that to the village, why not offer that to Wilcox right now? Because one way or another, they're willing to buy
No, yes.
parcels, it should be the same for the others.
Well, the only way we would have to divide,
I think you are right.
Yeah.
I think you're right though, because if it turns out that there's not enough interest from others, then Mr. Wilcox should buy the whole thing.
should buy the whole thing.
And rather than have.
But now you've subdivided it already, or,
Well,
you
no,
know,
we wouldn't, I don't think we would do any of that until after we hear a response from the neighbors. I just think our first step to continue this forward has to be notifying the neighbors. And then we'll have to come back, unfortunately, and address it again, but at least that's our first step forward to make this happen for you.
Because then next month we could say.
And then
yes
next
or no,
month,
basically.
we would have to get replies in a timely fashion from your neighbors, and if there's no objection, next month we can move forward with any other contingencies that we feel are necessary and sell the entire property.
So it looks like 4 neighbors there. Can you help us draft that letter to those 4 neighbors or in the village of Vernon or?
I can put something together. With the help of the clerk's office.
Well, actually,
It will help with the clerk's
planning
office.
usually sends out that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Well,
Mike needs to review it.
Yeah.
Don't we need an offer?
He already said he'd buy it.
This
We
already
don't
is.
have an
I
offer.
think you did take it to some
No,
kind of.
we don't have it for sale.
what's that?
Didn't you do some type
We did
of offer at
offer
one
purchase
point?
and then.
Did I make an offer?
Like an offer to purchase, huh?
What?
Like an offer to purchase, is what they're saying.
Did I make an offer?
Yeah.
No, they're asking you if you will.
But yeah,
I'm sure he's.
Yeah,
After all the time and effort he's put into
I,
this, he's not gonna walk
I
away
did
from it.
that, I said that I am making an offer to purchase, you know, and I wanted to go with the recommendation from, you know, the plan commission to sell it to my wife and I as one parcel, and we would pay the fair market valuation that you just got, and then we would worry about dealing with our neighbors who we've lived there for 7, 8 years now that we know personally, and work with them individually and severally to, you know, resolve any dispute that would come up. I have no interest in walking around behind my neighbors' houses, you know, but I'm trying to do this the expedient way, and frankly, I just don't think that they're interested in buying it. If they were, they would have expressed some interest in buying it. You know, I spent a considerable amount of time and money in pursuing this, purchasing this property, that they're gonna be able to take advantage of without paying a dime. And I'll be able to just make an offer
Yeah.
on doing this, and then, so I'm gonna pay the lion's share of the money to get the ball rolling after 5 years of finally getting this sold, and it's like, yeah, well, now we're gonna, after you paid all this money and did all this work and spent all this time, we're gonna let your neighbors have a kick at the cat first. It's like, you know, frankly, I just don't, I don't think it's fair.
And you've done a good job of.
I've been extraordinarily patient with Big Ben. I'm going out of my way to, you know, take care of the issues on your land myself. I'm not a litigious person, you know, I'm not here trying to make claims and things. I'm waiving all claims, trying to just buy the piece of property and make it my own. I think I've
Yeah,
been,
we
I've
appreciate
been more
that.
than reasonable over the years, and more than understanding going through COVID and the problems in Big Bend. I've just done the things myself, and I just think it's unreasonable at this point to drag this out even longer.
Well, we appreciate all that, Dan, and you're getting closer and closer. We're just saying that we probably should make one more step. Did you have something else to say, Mike?
No.
So it looks like we are going to table this for now. We'll draft a letter to the neighbors to let them know this is going to happen. And we'll give them till the next meeting date to make up their mind if they're even interested. And if they're not, we'll come back and probably approve this one.
And are you, Mike, are you planning on doing the standard valuation that you got of the $2,000 per acre across the board on all of that? Or is the non-wetland area to the west of that going to have a more of a valuation than the east end that's completely, basically underwater?
I suppose that if you, I think right now as it stands, the board seems to indicate a willingness to sell the land that you've crosshatched there.
One piece.
So sell that sounds like it would be a done deal. There has not been an appraisal that you'd offer to pay for earlier. There's not been an appraisal, there's the assessor gave a value to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It might be wise for you to consider getting an appraisal, as you'd offered earlier, but this time just limited to the crosshatched area. But I think it's certain at this point that the neighbors are gonna be treated the same as you, even though you got the ball rolling, but given the same opportunity. In theory, somebody could buy that whole parcel, and then as you said, recognizing that land to the east, to the west is more valuable, it's the high ground, it's the darker area. That land might have a value of much more than what the total $7,000 is here. But anyway, I think the neighbors have to offer the opportunity, not legally, they don't need it legally. I'm just saying in a sense of fairness that they be offered that opportunity.
So I think, Dan, what we're looking at, anyway, is you're probably gonna have the opportunity to buy what's behind you, and we're just gonna determine on that other little triangle whether you own that or don't own it. So I think you're in pretty good shape right now, but we're gonna go through the process and just, you're only looking at another 30 days. You've been working on it for 5 years, so be patient. I know that's hard. I don't know what happened with the other board and all that in the past, but you have this board's ear, and it seems to be pretty good for you. So be patient, and let us do our due diligence there, and then I think we can move forward with the subject.
I mean, first I heard this was last month, so I didn't know anything.
I know it's frustrating, but please put that in the file.
And barring anything, I would support you buying the entire land.
Yeah.
I think most of us do, yeah.
The whole thing.
So the only question I would have is if you have one neighbor that is interested in buying the land and you have 3 neighbors that are not, what's the hierarchy then? For instance,
There's a guy in the middle wants.
my neighbor right here, he doesn't want to buy this property behind him, but this neighbor wants all of this. Now, who's got the hierarchy on, is this, can I buy this, or
No, it's all
does
or
this
nothing.
neighbor get it, or?
It's all or nothing.
If
We're not
no one
subdividing.
wants it, you
It
get
can't
all.
be- we're not, it can't be all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's one lot,
No. It can be subdivided.
not by us.
Doesn't have to be subdivided, nothing has to be subdivided, they're all adjoining, they're buying adjoining parcels,
We
and
need
as
to
long
see-
as that acquisition or change of ownership does not violate any zoning code requirement, or shorten a setback below what's required to a building, there is no need for a subdivision process. It's a transfer between adjoining owners in accordance with the section of statutes that I told you.
Okay.
I think we just need to find out if
And
there
that-
is any interest at all.
Let's move to the.
And move
I
on
will
to
add, I first learned about this January 18th. No, I got a call before January 18th from the attorney, who I suggested write a letter to me to get this moving. So that's the first time I became aware of this. It was roughly 8
I
weeks
think that's
ago.
probably most of the shit.
I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, Mr. Wilcox, I would
Give
still,
give us another 30 days.
I'd still encourage you to go back, and if you can find any record of conversations you've had with anybody in the past from the board, from DPW, or anyone else from the village, please collect that and let us know.
Well, I had the conversations with Warren, and I had emails back and forth with Eric, and I know Eric, I'm friendly with him. He will, if he was here, he would come in here and say, I've been talking to Dan Wilcox since 2018 about it. He gave me permission to come inspect the property. I gave him permission. I said, it's unlikely we're gonna come out and do anything on your property. Just take care of it, don't worry about it. You can do what you want on there, maintain the property lines. Eric knows he told me that.
So
and he's gonna
here's
say-
where I'm going with this, and I'll be just perfectly frank, and I don't know if I would have any support from the rest of the board or not. If you have maintained that property behind your house, I feel that we need to reach some sort of an agreement where you're fairly compensated for taking care of village property for the last however many years. So I would entertain you to counteroffer back to us. If you have evidence of those conversations, bring it in, and I would fully support that.
Well, I have
And again, I
photographs
don't know if
and
anybody else would,
evidence, so
that's me.
I didn't wanna go that route, I just wanted to,
Let's
make an offer to purchase and buy the land
for a
that's
dollar.
been neglected, and,
I think that's a whole different issue, Tony. Let's see if the neighbors are interested.
Let's get that moving.
And then we can go down that road. So Mike and the clerk will take and get something together.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you'll be copied on it or whatever. And then we can move forward. We'll wait until the next board meeting and then we can make a decision. Thank you so much for your patience.
oh, thank you guys, I
and your
appreciate it.
Thank you for the
presentation.
presentation.
Yes.
And,
Thank you for the presentation. Make a motion to table.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you have your correspondence here. Waukesha County for Growth, Village of Vernon, the Muskego Area School District. I think that's all in here too. Public comments, we.
Thank you guys, have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
No public comment? Anybody want to adjourn this thing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this board meeting.
All in favor? Aye.
Minus one. You guys are done with this.
So yeah, it's my understanding until Kelly went out, the meeting was not being broadcast.
I don't know what's going on.
I know
The
Scott, you
lens
said
is
something
tilted
earlier,
differently.
right?
Normally I
Yeah, my
can
wife
see the,
texted me, but I
the
didn't
light.
make her sure.
Mine
That's
too.
why you asked me.
Yes.
Oh, maybe,
there a green light on there or something? that we
Yeah,
don't
because
know?
normally the lens, or the, not the lens, but the screen is usually tilted a certain way and I can usually see the lights and I can't see it.
we may want to turn it off now that the meeting's adjourned. We're talking about all things, but just so everybody knows, if there's any questions out there, obviously technical difficulties.
We're just trying to have. That's what we do.
I'm glad you're doing it.
Mark, I got concerns with your SCBA's. I do not want to see us get into trouble with the state or any authorities who are trying to use expired equipment. I don't know if we have what would be considered functional break without functional SCBA's.
Yeah.
Can you please take this back to the rest of your command staff and ask if there's a way that you guys can get a loan out or something to replace those so that we are at full staff on that? I'd hate to see them go to a structural fire and not be able to engage because you don't have SCBA's.
Correct.
And I know that there's a liability for using other departments' SCBA's because you are not technically certified on those particular SCBA's. Or masks or whatever else, because if the SCBA is not good, the chances of your mask being on the
Redone.
don't care.
I understand.
It's got to do with the bottles, it's got to do with the rigs.
Correct.
See you next time.
I don't want to see us get caught in that.
Right.
Have a good evening.
Oh, no, it's up in Georgetown, so.
Who's in charge of public safety? Is it you?
No, I have
I didn't know who it was these days.
Got a new guy.
Thanks, guys.
Good evening. Thanks.
Good night.
thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
It's just always
Hey, are you on the police and fire commission? No, I'm not. One thing I know.
You got the short stick, huh?
Because if you're gonna have new people coming on.
We do.
I think
Yeah,
they're
thank you.
fully, I think they're fully staffed and up and running now. Because they just approved, I know they were full-time police officer for conditional.
No, I'll call you Monday.
I was not here last week, I was busy at work.
Okay.
Sounds like they put some, alternates on the board.
So they will be
Because
able
there
to
was
look into
some,
looking into our applications and stuff. Okay.
because there's some medical, some people who are getting sick and there's just a bunch of names this year.
Okay, okay. I know that they were getting it together now. I was just curious now.
That's my
Because we've got
understanding.
people that wanna get on, but they, okay, what's the position?
Sign them up and get them
I mean,
before the police and fire commission.
Right, that's what I said, as long as they're up and running.
Yep. That's my understanding.
Good, myself.
Sure.
Another wonderful day, right?
Yep. So, okay. I'm getting tired of these meetings. So there wasn't, you guys didn't have one?
Well, it should have still recorded here, so I have to have Kathy. Okay, I don't know what the heck happened.
So, see you later. Yep, good night.
Good luck with them smoke cows.
I know, it's a rock and a hard spot, it's very frustrating to know that they're getting paid.
Exactly.
For patrolling and
It doesn't justify your position.
the appearance is not much is going on. So, and that's just the appearance. When you look at it, you know, take the small, it's pretty obvious that nothing else is going on.
Yeah, I'm hoping to encourage the, leadership as.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're doing your job as a patrol officer and
Probably understand.
Yeah.
and you're still, if you want to simply go tickets, you're still knocking off a ticket a day.
I know the village is. You want people to slow down?
It's,
You want them to slow down.
It's a safety.
They know you're not gonna be there.
Right, it'll get worse.
Yeah, it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
And safety, it's nice to see a cop driving around in neighborhood occasionally because it's a perception.
Yeah.
That you never know where you guys are. That's what we want, is we want people to be guessing where you are.
Now, I'm looking for logs, true daily logs, and I know that when I see subdivision patrols in Lake Park, I see radar activity on Edgewood as well as on those before. For some reason, I see it going to tickets and they don't.
Right. And again, that maybe I'm missing them, but I'm fairly
Down
observant.
the road.
My wife would never see you guys because she has her, I call her Captain Oblivious all the time.
Yeah.
And I got the bruises to prove it.
But down the road, what we can do is, when we do another contract, we put a clause in the contract that you don't get the raise unless you have a performance standard.
Yeah.
So, we're not talking anything crazy.
No.
They'll turn around and say, well, the maintenance rate is.
Exactly.
You just will say, a contact for every 16 hours along assigned patrol time.
Sure.
It would just make sense that over a certain period of time, you may issue a couple tickets here and there, or
Again, you structure it in a way.
We
that's-
don't have to, Crystal Lake, the city of Crystal Lake did it a few years ago,
Mhm.
and it worked for them,
Yeah.
so.
It's a great deal. It's, again, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers create a perception. And my first thing I went, nobody's doing anything except Scott. And then you combine that with the fact that you used to see squads moving through my neighborhood, and now I don't see any unless it's you.
I think in the past, the majority was you also.
Could be. But, and I have had neighbors say, so, where is the police department nowadays? Are they still pissed at us, or what's going on?
No, we were never pissed. Well,
Some-
the ones who were pissed left,
Right.
they're gone.
Yeah, they're just talking stupid on Facebook now.
Yeah, that's not good. But, yeah, we'll pick it up, and there's basically 3 people.
Mhm.
It's myself and the 2 part-timers, and Adrena is an investigator, she doesn't go on patrol.
And you know as well as I do, there's plenty of time for patrolling in the village.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we want from
Yeah.
you guys in the village. Yeah, we fortunately don't have that huge crime other than Sandwich Man.
Well, and he got caught.
And he got caught, but I mean, it's just, again, that's what I think everybody expects,
I'll
is to see
mention-
officers on the street.
That's when I see more physical patrol.
He managed to, that that was the basis behind my question. And I was gonna talk to you about that after the fact, that's why I'm asking questions, is because I want to.
Appreciate all that you've done.
Holy crap. Yeah,
Are
you're, plus
you
you
good?
guys on top of everything, so thank you.
Can I still get a ride?
All right, I'm gonna go home, release the beast.
Forget that, I didn't say that to you.
Oh.
I went on your email today and saw
I
that
just,
application.
I just remembered that as you said that. I gotta watch out for that, don't I? Oh my gosh. But you agreed to it.
Military intelligence.
I saw that. Well, I'm not on a piece of fire control, I said I make sure that, because my wife's not very computer savvy, it's like, okay, here, I'm making sure that
I mean,
she
a
needs,
lot.
here, these are what you need to look at, you know.
Living
He's
inside
a
my
good,
truck with
he's a
my
good,
dog.
I got a couple others that
I don't,
I would like,
I
but
guess I
not
kinda
as
understand what they're saying,
good as him.
but I don't.
He said he's very, wants to
When you say transfer
Yeah,
ride,
his son's a.
I kinda understand where it's coming from.
Police officer, and he's got kids that live up towards, like Fond du Lac somewhere. So he wants to be in the area.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
then
that's
we
what
got
they
to
have over there.
Uh-huh. What did they say before that? You
Who
know?
knows?
Okay, guys. We're out of here.
Good night.
Yeah, good night, thank you.
I'm just standing there.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike turned in his key, and I gave it to Scott. I didn't realize Scott didn't have a key.
Oh.
Now I do.
No, he does.
Yeah, glad we did that. So, anyway.
Didn't that go, Scott?
It did before when you did it. But it could help if I use the right key.
Yeah, there are a few different keys.
Because the last time that, when Kathy was here and it didn't work, she was able to get it from this. It didn't stream, but it was still here, so she was able to.
So there's someone who wants now, or you go back?
No, Kathy, she.
We're out of here.
Good
Yeah.
Let's check this out. I just got a new key here. Oh yeah, it does work. You want the lights off in here?
No, I think that's it, huh? Did you get it?
Yes.